Hello, how you doing?
Hey, I like the
Sing
music.
that one.
Hey, I like that choice. Da,
Yeah.
da, da, da. Hey,
You
short and
wanted it more
sweet,
poppy. You wanted it more
short and
poppy.
sweet and sassy, like me.
All right, Kaz, how was your week?
How was my week? It was good. It was good. It warmed up here, thank goodness. And I'm sure you saw that the my book is now ready to be out in the world. So
No, I
for
actually
that.
did not see that. I kind of was in and
Well,
out
you
of.
saw it on Instagram. You liked it.
Oh,
So,
I did.
okay.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. Oh, I did. Well, you're still recovering. So you're like, I did. Yeah. I'll just remind you. Yeah, you did. You liked it. You saw it.
Okay, that's awesome. I liked it. There you go.
Yeah. How you feeling?
Good. Getting better every day.
Good.
Still
Yay.
not out of the woods, so
You
still.
are or you aren't?
I'm
You
not.
are.
No, I'm
You're
not
not.
out of the woods. No.
Well, I
So
mean, you're out of the hospital. So that's one good thing.
yeah, I'm actually, well, I'm out of the grave in the hospital. Now I'm at home. So that's how I look at it.
Every little bit counts.
Yeah.
It really does. And you sound, as I mentioned backstage, you sound better. Your throat sounds better. So,
Yeah.
well, we'll just keep doing our mojo juju on you that you
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you.
got
This
healing
is,
juju.
you know, uh, like I said, Substack has been very beautiful, I guess is the best way of putting it.
Ah,
People have reached out, they say good morning. They're just checking in on me to make sure I'm okay. This weekend, I was in and out. I wasn't really around. Um, I did, and I kind of like let some things hang a little bit where normally I wouldn't have done that. Uh,
right.
but one of the things I do is I get really tired at night and I just don't want to do much. So I kind of like go whatever. But like even after the show, I'll get exhausted and I'll have to sit down and just chill. It's just
Doing a show is exhausting, even if you're healthy. I mean, seriously, being on and trying to be your best
yeah,
and remember a bunch of stuff and be real
yeah,
is it can be exhausting.
yeah. But I don't know if you saw the show, but we did our first episode of The Whole,
The whole I did. I
and
didn't see it live, but I
yeah,
did see it afterwards. Yes.
so that one is excited. We got a lot of good people from around the world interested in the show, and actually really.
Yay.
And I'm sorry for the programming thing. So in Substack, before the the last major update they did, what happened was you're able to go on Substack and you can start cataloging a bunch of your shows, and it wouldn't interfere with other shows. And what happened was I had booked these two shows. I had for our guest in there, our Monday show in there, and then I had the whole, which I kind of thought, okay, when I turn on the programming, it will jump to that. Well, that didn't happen. It got all mixed up. So some people were confused that we were doing the soul work on Saturday, but it wasn't true. We were doing it. Yeah.
Oh. Oh,
But
well,
they still
I'm
stayed,
sure you
but they still stayed and they still enjoyed it. And
and
Sammy
you
and
still
I,
showed him a good
yeah.
time, so that's all that matters.
But it's interesting. We're getting more closer to that. So, but if you're interested in watching that, go look for the whole, and you can on my
Look for
Substack
John in the hole, on the hole.
on the whole, in the whole. But anyways, so things are going good for all of us. We're starting to roll this out. um,
Good.
our guest is
It's so exciting.
is
I'm looking forward to her.
is Nat, and how I met Nat was a few months. I can't remember how I met her. I forgot
On Substack,
my
obviously.
Substack, but we were interacting, I think. And then she invited me to a private party, which was a bunch of people from Substack that goes on. And at first, it was kind of weird because it was like, all these new people, but it was all virtual.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and then we were all sitting around, like you could bring your drink or whatever and just chit chat, right?
Cool.
And one of the things that we did was we talked about things, and that's how I learned about her transformation from a corporate world into a different type of career. And I don't want to spoil it for her so she can talk about it. So that's where Nat comes into place because I believe her story resonates to a lot of people who've been dealing with a lot of challenges, obstacles like that,
Midlife
midlife crisis,
transitions.
things like that.
Yeah.
So maybe a little bit of beacon there that might help, help you understand that you're not alone.
And you aren't. And I love her name, Nat Sang. Nat Sang. And I asked her, I said, is it like Thich Nhat Hanh, like not and song? Or she said, nope, it's Nat. Because I am a bugger for getting people's names right. I will chastise myself for a week if I do not pronounce a person's name right. But
Well, I
Nat,
called her last name Song, so and then she called me out on it. So
well,
she goes,
you
"No,
know,
my name's not Song, it's Sang." What do you mean?
Sang.
It was a
Well,
spelling error. So
oh, it wasn't on air. Nat Sang.
yeah,
And it
it's
and
SA.
it sings. Nat Sang sings. Speaking of Nat Sang,
Let's bring her in.
let's bring her in.
Cool.
Hi, guys.
How you doing?
Oh, there she is in the middle.
Good.
In the middle,
How are
in the
you?
middle.
Well, we got a little thing going on with my name there. So, Kaz emailed me and she's like, "What's Nat for?" And I'm like, "It's actually Natissa, which
Oh,
is like my full name, but everyone botches it. So, I've just been going by Nat
how do you
forever.
botch Natissa? That's so easy. Melissa Natissa. Come on.
Yeah,
It's
Nastasa.
beautiful though. I
It's
even
just
said it.
crazy.
It's
So, yeah,
beautiful.
so we just go
Where
by
is it
Nat.
from? I always ask, does your name have a meaning? And what's the etymology of your name?
So it's actually like some strange story that it was like a misspelling. But when I checked the origin of it, it's actually Russian.
Oh,
And I'm not Russian. So,
like, well,
yeah.
Is your ancestors from Asia? Is that's what I'm
Yeah.
thinking of. Okay.
Yeah.
Is it
Indian.
India? Yeah.
oh, from okay.
Yeah. I think it was supposed to be like Nastasia or something because I think they did want a name like that, but then it got misspelled. And so I have this unique name.
So you
Which
started with a unique. So right off the bat, you were unique.
I was unique.
Did you get any kidding about it in school, or it's that one of those names that you start out and you absolutely hate it and hate your parents for giving it to
Yes,
you, but then as you get older, you like love it because it's unique and it's not the same as everyone
absolutely.
else's?
Yeah, I think I just got so used to being Nat that anytime anyone calls me Natissa, when your parents do that thing where like well, you're John and you're Kaz, but it's like Nat was always okay, like you're not in trouble. But then when it's like Natissa, it's like, oh God.
Oh yeah.
So I kind of associate that with trouble. You're in trouble.
Or you get your first and your middle name. Like if I'm a little bit perturbed with my husband, his name is Todd, so his middle name is Albert, so he gets Todd Albert. I don't call it,
Ah,
but I never call him Todd. I call him Chief because he was a chief in the Navy. So
ah,
I've always called him Chief since like the second time we met. So
that's
if I
cute.
call him Todd Albert, he knows he's in deep doo doo.
Yeah, that's the whole Natissa thing happening.
Right.
Well, thank you guys for like that really cool intro. And yeah, John and I met earlier and we had I was trying to promote my cocktails and mocktails meetup and John joined and it was a bunch of us and at first it was a little like awkward, but I want to say like within like 10 minutes we were just all like chatting and it was pretty
Yeah.
cool. So
That's
yeah.
very
And
cool.
we started sharing Substacks and got more involved in that way. It was more of like it was just I think a way to. Thank you, Nat, for doing that. But it was kind of cool. Yeah.
Informal networking or really loose
I
networking?
wouldn't say networking. It was just
No,
people with
connecting.
the same, just the
Yeah.
same mindset. Just the same mindset. It's just kind of like, you know what? We're in this world together. How do we figure it out? So, yeah.
Yeah. So I love doing these, like actually speaking to people. I know a lot of people love Substack because it's you kind of like are not really interacting in person and you're doing a lot of it in writing. And that's cool too, but I like the human connection and I like meeting people. So it's pretty excited about this.
Good.
It's a different connection than other social media like X or Instagram or TikTok or even Facebook. It's just it's a different animal, which I like, which is what I like about it.
Yeah. And so,
So
go ahead, John.
no, you can finish off what you're going to say. I was going to get into more into your
I was
story.
just going to say that I had never heard of Substack ever before, and I just stumbled upon it. So I'm glad I did.
So when you stumbled upon it, what was your first reaction to everything?
Just to finding it, or just
Like
I
when you stumbled
personally,
on it and your personal, like when you stumbled on it and you got into Substack, you went, what is this? What was your first
What is
impression of all
this?
that? Yeah, like what is
I
this?
liked it. Like I was like, what is this? What is this strange world that I've never heard of? Um,
Right.
and so it really just stemmed from when my layoff began. And should I start that
Oh
whole
yeah.
story?
Yeah,
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So
Go for it.
yeah, so we'll touch on how I how I reached Substack. So I've been writing about.
Right.
Let me take a step back. The layoff. I just recently wrote another article. My last article actually in depth of of how that happened and why that happened. But the the premise of it really was I've been in this corporate role, um, specifically my last role for about 4 years. And in the beginning, I liked it. And then we had a
Mhm.
leadership change. And that just made everything a complete nightmare. And so I was not happy. I was absolutely not happy, but I was moving along. I was surviving. And now that I look back in hindsight, I call it survival because it really and truly was. Like my Sundays were horrible. Like I couldn't eat, I couldn't function. Um, and I met with my boss every Monday. And it's like just the anxiety from that alone. 2 years, week after week. Like I knew like I couldn't live like this, but I just didn't have the courage to make the change. And so I continued day in, day out. It was also my last job was remote. And so that made it really difficult to walk away from because my daughter at the time was in high school. And part of it really was the fact that I was here for her. Anyways, so fast forward to October of last year, you know, I got this weird request for a meeting with my boss. And although we're virtual, we would go into Manhattan. I'm in New York, by the way. So we would go into New York City once a week. I'm sorry, once a month. And so I get this weird request and I'm like, what is this? Anyways, so we go through the day, we have our regular meetings, and then I go and I meet with him. And he basically says, I hate to do this to you, but we had to restructure, and unfortunately, we eliminated your position. So at first, I was just like, okay, like I'm gonna say I'm really proud of myself that I did not cry. I just kind of looked and I said, okay, I get it. Times are tough, and I mean, I was dying inside, but I just really kind of toughed it out, and I'm really happy and I'm really proud of myself for that. So I'm gonna give myself a little round of applause.
Good for
Anyway,
you.
he so he left. I mean, he basically it was like maybe a 5-minute conversation, and I will say that HR was not in the room. So when I walked in, I really wasn't sure what was happening. At first, I actually thought he wanted to review something with me, like work, but then I quickly realized that wasn't the case. And I mean, when that happened, I had a whole bunch of feelings, but strangely enough, one of them was like relief, and I was like, why am I not crying? Like, why am I felt like a burden was lifted off of my shoulder. But then
Wow.
instantaneously, I was like, oh my God, like now I have to go home and I have to tell my family. And then I felt
Mm.
really like embarrassed, um, super embarrassed, right? Because now I feel like this happened to me because I'm a failure.
Mm.
And I'm like processing all of these emotions on like my 2 hour train ride to come home. And I'm like, oh my God, I don't want to tell my husband. I don't want to tell my mom. I don't want to tell my daughter. And it's funny because I still haven't cried. And I'm like thinking to myself, when it happened, I'm like, all right, you're going to cry on the train. You're just waiting to like leave and just not have anybody around you. Didn't happen. And I came home and I tell my husband, and he goes, thank God. And I was like, what'd you say? Come again? He goes, thank God. He's like, I could not take another minute of you in that job. It was just so
Oh.
stressful. And, I was like really kind of relieved. And I called my mom and I told her, and she was like a little worried. Moms are that way. She's like, something better is going to happen. Don't stress about it. And the last person I had to tell was my daughter. And my daughter was like, yay. She goes, Mommy, I can't wait to see what you're going to do next. So
Oh.
it's like really like interesting because I had this notion in my head that I'm this like terrible, like, I'm like a loser and
Mm.
I didn't deserve, like I got what I deserved and, I didn't tough it out. And so that was like just a really good way, like really good feedback. And it was really encouraging. And so I think from that point onwards, I had a different like outlook on the whole process. And I will rewind to say that in 2020, I was laid off of my previous role from right in the height of COVID. And that was more
Wow.
COVID related. But again, it's like the same. That one was super shocking, right? I did not even see that coming. And I think it's very interesting how I handled both situations. So in 2020, when that happened, I had the breakdown. I freaked
Mm.
out like as soon as I came home. 2 days later, resume updated. I'm not kidding you, I got laid off on a Tuesday the first time. And by Friday, I had an interview lined up.
Oh,
Like, I
wow.
was just like, I'm not like, I don't want to be without income. Like,
You're
I'm
a
not,
go-getter.
I'm like, nope, we got to do this. And this time when it happened, I will say that I did update the resume because there's still that crazy part of me. But then, like, I was ready to hit send and I looked in the mirror. I was like, what the hell are you doing? Like, you literally, you've lived this before. And this is where you ended up. And you ended up with 4 years of misery. And so I decided I'm going to do something for myself. And my husband was super supportive. And I get it, right? I get that some people don't have that luxury. And I, that alone is a blessing. Like, that is such a blessing to be able to say, hey, I'm going to take a pause. I'm going to pivot into something else. So, with the resume updated, it's funny because HR kept telling me, they're like, send us your updated resume because, now you're like laid off. And I kept like delaying it. And I'm like, I don't want to send it because I almost didn't want to get a job again. I'm like, oh, I don't want somebody offering me a job. And now I feel obligated to take it. So I had this book that I had written, this novel, way back when, 12 years ago, like commuting into the city. And I said, you know what? I'm going to publish my novel. This is my thing. And that's how I found Substack because I started Googling like how to publish your novel. And I saw like the TikTok bookshop. Like I was going that route. And then everyone's like, well, you could go on Substack and you promote. And I'm like, what is this Substack thing? And so I Googled it, opened an account. Like this is not even maybe 5 days after the layoff. And I just found all of this content. And I'm like, I think I'm going to write here. And of course, people, when you start Substack, I don't know about you guys, how long you've been on it. You've got like the delusion that, oh, I'm going to get like, 10,000 subscribers and everyone's going to read my work. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is great. And so I started like just writing, and I loved it. And I'm like, I get to process my emotions. I get to write about what I feel. And it's just been like evolving. And I wasn't sure what I was writing about, but I just felt like I needed to be somewhat authentic. And I just started. And that's it. That's my
Well,
Substack story.
John has been on talking about how long we've been on. I've only been on for 7 months. John's been on since what, the beginning?
Yeah, when dirt was created.
When you had, well, explain it, because this is really interesting. Well, first off, there's two questions
Yeah.
among many that are going through my mind. What was in your first job when you got laid off in 2020? What was your position? What were you doing?
So I was a senior director of operations and administration. I've always worked in the healthcare industry,
Oh,
but
okay.
I'm not, it's more of like an administrative role. I'm not clinical in any shape or form. And that
And
too
then
was, yeah,
the second one was similar.
finance and healthcare. Yeah.
Oh, finance and healthcare. Okay,
Yeah.
because I want to show the juxtaposition between that going to where you are now and writing a
Yeah.
novel and all that. And what's your novel about? Is it published yet?
It's not published. I'm like
Okay.
literally just going through the first iteration of editing. It's like I was just writing like this wannabe like rom-com thing on the train.
Oh,
And
okay.
I got really like involved and lost in the characters, and they did a lot of stuff that I wasn't even aware that they were going to do. I just let the keyboard take over.
You were automatic writing.
Yeah, and I had like a couple of friends read it way back when. We're talking like 2014. And they were like, wow, this is great. Like you really need to get this done. And then I stopped commuting into Manhattan, and I had my prior job, and that I spent 90% of my time in my car, like driving from site to site,
Oh boy.
up and down Long Island. So there was no time for a book. There was no time when I came home to do anything. It's just, and you're driving, right? When you're commuting.
That's
on the
why your
train.
husband said, "Thank God."
Right. Right.
And it was just something I've always said, like, oh, maybe when I retire, like I'll do this, but it's always been my dream. And it's funny, Kaz, that you asked about what I did, because I studied finance. I have a degree in accounting. I have an MBA in healthcare administration, but it was never.
So
really,
you were very committed to that.
I was, but you know how things just it's like you get a job and then you just kind of start. It snowballs. It's like an avalanche, and it just kind of. I kept getting promoted in my career. I kept like getting better titles, more money. And so part of my problem was like is it a golden handcuff? That's like the expression, right? It's like,
yeah.
you're earning a ton of money. You're kind of like a slave to it, because you can't really think of giving it up, but yet it doesn't fulfill you. And with the whole 50, plus years and midlife reset, I think when you're 50, you realize that, I'm not 30. So I'm closer. I'm closer probably to 70, right? Than I was when I was 30. And it really makes you think, like, is this really what I want to do with the rest of my life? And I think
you invested so much time and studying and energy and money into getting, these business degrees, and you finally ended up with these jobs which utilized all of that, and you were
miserable.
Right. See? Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to be ungrateful. It got me really far in life. It got me a lot of nice things. And for that, I'll always be grateful. But I write a lot about this. I think a lot of people struggle with this concept of like gratitude versus happiness. And I don't really think that you need to trade one for the other. Um, it's okay to be grateful. It's okay to be thankful. And you could want something more and you can want something different. So I've really taken on this different persona. Um, I think I used to be really hard on myself, and I used to be really aggressive in the sense of like going after more and challenging myself. And I feel like I could still do that, but I can do it to find purpose and to find something that brings me joy. And part of bringing joy, like, or experiencing joy, is doing something to help other people. And I realized that maybe in my previous roles at work, I guess somehow it trickled down. I mean, I was in healthcare, so
Right.
obviously helping people in some, but it was never a direct impact. I never felt it. The one thing that I did like and I did enjoy was, I managed a lot of people. I had a lot of staff, and they always, it's weird because I had these really high titles, and I would have staff at, the most junior levels coming to me asking me for advice. So I think I have like that approachable, like, hey, like, can you help me out? Like mentoring people, encouraging them to go back to school, like, hey, what should I do? And that was really, when I sat and I thought about it, that was really what I loved doing. Like I felt like, hey, like I'm making a difference. Like I'm helping people. I mean, I could rock a spreadsheet better than most, but I don't see how that's helping anyone, maybe except finance department. But that's what I liked. I like interacting with people. I like helping people. I like using my experience to give advice or to say, look, hey, I've been through that.
So when
You'll
you were
get.
in the when you were in the corporate world, and you just said something really important, you felt like you wanted to help people and all that stuff. When you're in the corporate world, was that not present? Like, or was it like like you were forced to do something that you just didn't feel like it was the right thing to do? Or was it like more of, I'm not really helping anybody here. I don't know what I'm doing.
Um, it was a little bit of both. I wouldn't say like forced, like I was forced to do something that I didn't want to do, but I think based on the roles that I chose, there really wasn't as much interaction with, I guess, with people as I would have hoped. And so the only interactions I always had, or the only control I had, was over my staff, and I could help them. But I felt like I wanted to do more.
So
And
you were basically locked in the rat race of
yeah.
bureaucracy, where, and I was in the corporate world, and I know what where you had the chain of command, and you had to
Mhm.
follow the chain of command, and then if you didn't do this, you were going to get reprimanded because you failed to follow a policy or forgot to do something, and it was always this competition where you were, no matter what, it was a win at all costs. I'd like to use that
Mhm.
phrase, because you're in competition not because you wanted to be, but you're in competition, and then you're creating rivals against each other.
Yeah.
Even employees become in that mindset that let's knock her out and I can take that position. So you're
Yeah.
always coming from the bottom, always from the top, and you're sideways. You're always looking around. And that's when I said to you, I said,
Mm.
your feeling of helping wasn't really there because you weren't really helping, even though the corporate lingo, the corporate like policies and the handbook where they kind of like write this big, huge utopia of how this world
Yeah.
is going to work better with
Your
us,
SOP, your standard
yeah,
operating.
and
Yeah.
and we're going to be doing this, and as long as you follow this handbook, we're going to be all good, and we're going to be singing kumbaya. The
Yeah.
boss is going to come by, he's going to cheer you on, and by the way, we have these birthday cakes that come out, which is basically a cupcake, and a few people, it's just, it's a facade, and that's not what, well, I mean,
Yeah.
it's a
No,
it's a facade. In today's world, it is a facade because it's not about helping. It's about moving the money more towards the owners.
Absolutely. I think I see where you're coming from. And I also feel like that, what you just described, that was pretty prevalent, like on my peer level, right? Because like you said, everyone's competing for the same thing. Everyone is trying to outdo the other. Everybody's trying to get to the next position.
Yeah, no
So
teamwork. That's not teamwork.
no, it never is, right? And it just,
Even when you were in a high, you said you were in high level positions, you felt that pressure still from all around you, from like John said, above you and below
oh
you.
yeah,
And
well, above, below, sideways, and it just never ends. And this last position that I was in, at this last institution, this one, I think I felt it worse because pressure. This one was probably the most high pressure of all, and the competition. I said I was going to come on here and I wasn't going to really badmouth anyone, and I won't do
No,
that. But
no, no, of course
yeah,
not.
no, but I
No, but
will
we get,
say,
yeah,
I will
the
say that the pressure was enormous because it really came from the top, and I think the leadership from the top was not optimal, and that really put a lot of stress on all of us. And when you have that type of environment, you kind of pit everyone against each other, and that really is super unhealthy. And you call it teamwork, but it's not, you
it's
know.
well,
crazy
yeah,
how often you'll hear from the corporate world, the big corporate world, stories like this. Big, you don't have to, drop names or anything
Yeah,
like that. But the fact that I hear this story over and over again from people who have made it into top positions of the corporate world,
yeah,
how dog eat dog
it's
it is. And it's not the, you, like I had said, you did spent so much time studying and getting your degrees, and you said working your way up. Did you work your way up to a place you're like, I did so much work, and what for? I'm feeling like, what for? What did I do this for? Because this is the outcome. I'm being laid off from two
yeah,
positions that I worked my butt off
and
to get and to maintain.
yeah, and there's an identity, so that's another piece of this that's associated with that. It's when you get laid off. I mean, and especially for someone like me, I've been in this world for over 30, I would say probably 35 years. I
Wow.
began my career, and I've not known any other part of myself but those titles. And so
Oh,
I needed to
wow.
strip away from that as well. And, because I've always been, oh, the mommy that works. And, my husband and I, we talk shop a lot. And so I've always been like that wife that, I'm not just, not, I could relate, right, to what he was going through. I'm the friend that, the friend that works, the girlfriend that, has the career. So, and I like
Is
that.
he in the corporate world too? Is your husband in the corporate world too?
My husband is in software development, and
Ah,
so
okay.
he's more in like that California laid back, kind of. Yeah, we go to the office and they're in shorts and t-shirt kind of thing. I would go to
And
the
we brought
office.
our
I'm in,
dog and
yeah,
okay. All
yeah.
right. Well,
So, but he had a lot of the same issues. I mean, there's always when you're at those levels, he was a director in his company, and his director level was I think a lot stronger than where we were, because where I am, we have directors, senior directors. His senior director was probably like our like VP level, so
oh,
he had a lot of responsibility. And but he also said to me, he goes, and he just recently said this to me like 2 weeks ago, because I still struggle with some guilt, of like what I'm
mm,
doing. And he's like, nothing that you went through was normal. He goes, you need to like come to terms with that what you're doing, there's nothing wrong with it. So I feel like for anybody who's listening out there, if you're struggling with these feelings, like you're wondering, like, are you in a bad environment? Are you in an environment that does not make you happy? It doesn't mean that you're a lazy person or you're a bad person or you're weak. I never thought I was lazy, but I struggled a lot with thinking that I was weak.
Yeah.
And
that's the wait, just want to add something there. In most corporation, they run the organization with fear, even though it's not what they say. It's really what happens is the president is teed off about something. Will everything goes downstream or upstream, depending where it is. But it's really about fear. And what happens is these evaluations, even though they're meant for merit purposes to get a pay raise or whatever it is, those are designed to really start targeting the individual in the sense that you need to find flaws. You need to find what's going on. How can they improve themselves? What's the growth pattern? And then you're going to sit there and map out your 5 years with this company for the sake of saying, yeah, I'm a good steward. I'll do all this, blah, blah, blah. And meantime, you have a stack of work that needs to be done, and there's no way to get out of it because of it. So your fear of not completing that, but you're also fear of your long-term plan of what you're going to do with that company. And no one really understands the pressure as long as you, like, when you're in that pressure cooker, you don't really see it because you've now become acclimated to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you kind of like feel it's okay. It's only when you leave and you look back and you go, what did I just do? Now, I've been in and out of work. I've went to different things. I used to work for the newspaper industry, which was, Washington Post is a prime example where everybody got fired because what they don't really understand, the decline of newspapers. Plus, if you, like in writing, and I say this very, very genuinely for those people who are out there trying to write, if you are in literature, stay in literature. If you want to write about politics, go write politics and stay in politics. If you're going to write about business, stay in business. Don't cross-pollinate, because what happens is you'll lose your audience.
Yeah.
So the newspaper business, what it used to be when I grew up in it, it was reporting the news. But throughout the entire page now, it's all about opinions and about slated one way or another. I don't really care which way you think.
Yeah.
But when a reader just wants the facts and wants to understand the circumstances, there's not a place to do that. So, but when you have many out there that are cross-pollinated from the 24/7 channels to all these other things, and they all have the similar voice, you're going to lose out in that marketplace. So the same thing in a work environment, everybody acts the same way. And there's never, ever, everybody cross-pollinates, because what they try to do is everybody's trying to do their jobs, trying to do more than they can. And then the people, so then what happens is the bosses say, oh, they can do less with more. Yeah. And they'll start reducing, and they'll say, well, it's staff reduction, or we're going to reallocate it, or some of the best words, we're going to, what was the one thing we used to say? I keep forgetting it. Something about we're going to manage that person out.
Oh, God, yeah. We're
going to manage that person out. And that meant was, okay, we don't got them on the sticks yet, but guess what? We're going to manage them out. We're going to put them on performance reviews. We're going to do all this, da-da-da. But at the end of the day, that person has a life. That person might have an issue. That person might be going through something that we don't know and doesn't want to talk about it. It's not that we want to hear it. But even if he does talk about it, no one's going to do about it. They don't care because he's not performing.
Right.
So that's in the corporate world. When I was younger in the newspaper industry, that was a complete different world. It was a lot more. You could see the 20, 40 years of that going away. And so I think the corporate world is very similar in that site. So I mean, I think it's all about fear. It's about managing people out, turning the channel. No one really wants consistency. There's none of these 40 years, 50 years loyalty anymore.
No.
Employees have learned that they have to churn every 2 to 3 years to find a new job. So, anyways,
It's transient.
I could go
gotten,
down a tangent. Like, well, we always said one person has a foot out all the time.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
And it's transient too. I mean, I've seen how, it's just a revolving door,
it's a hamster
whether
wheel.
it's the business
That's what
or
it
the
is.
person.
It's a
But
hamster
we
wheel.
were talking about working for corporations. I've worked for them, but only in entertainment.
Right.
So it's a little bit of a different animal. But I remember being told to my face in a yearly review, I love everything you're doing. You've improved this, that, and the other thing. But I have to have a negative. I have to have something to
Yeah.
say to corporate that you need to work on. And I'm
Yep. They
like,
always say that.
he goes, can
Always.
you come up with something that you'd like, you suggest you'd like to work on? Because you're doing a wonderful job, but I can't say that. I have to
Yeah.
say something's going on. And I'm like, well, luckily, and what you said before, I had great management. They were really flexible and willing to work with you. And actually, you were really a team. And then the manager left and went to a better location. And the new manager came in who was hell on wheels.
Yep. That's
And that,
essentially what happened to me as well. And I mean, I was reporting to someone who was somewhat in the middle. And when she left, I went straight to the top. And, that was never what I signed up for. Just,
ugh,
you know, to be honest about it.
Yeah. So let's talk about now the corporate world's behind you. You're now here. What kind of work are you doing? Like I'm sure that is still in the back of your head. You're like, what the hell did I just live through? Like, is there
or not.
PST issues? Like, are you kind of like mentally processing things, or kind of like, how do I, because obviously it's a big shift to what you're doing now.
And
So,
how recently was this? I'm sorry, John. How recently was this? That you were laid off from the second job?
Well, I was told in October, and
Oh,
yeah, and John, John knows the story. It's wild. I was told about this layoff happening, and then I get this was October 21st, and a week later, it was framed as restructuring because of budget reasons, and then all of a
or
sudden
okay.
I'm told, well, hey, there's this new guy that we just hired, and I need you to train him. And I was like, okay. And I didn't know what I was training him on. I was training him on doing my exact role, which is wild. And I was like, are you kidding me?
Brr.
This man was actually a friend of my boss. And I felt really bad for him though, because he was so sweet and he didn't really know, like, I don't think he knew what the plan was. And so I said to him, I speak about how relieved I was. And once I got like the okay from my husband and my family, I was like, I just can't be here anymore. So I was really nice about training him. And we're like, 1 month every day meeting with him. And it's like he's not doing anything else besides what I'm showing him. So clearly there's a need for my role, but it's being pawned off to someone else. So
Did
fast
he
forward.
ostensibly know that he was replacing you or
Well, I
no?
told him, and I think he felt really bad. And I was like, it's okay. And he said, you're so graceful about this. And I said, yeah. I said, what can I do? I said, I just feel like this is divine intervention. But the story gets wilder because, the person that we both reported to was, very challenging to work for. And although they were friends, it turns out that on the over the Thanksgiving break, I think this poor man, he just couldn't handle it. So he comes back the following week and he quits. And I was like, oh my God, he goes, I can't take it. And so he left. And I thought, okay, well, here's a perfect opportunity, right? Now, like maybe I could get my job back. Not that I really wanted it, but it just goes to show that if he really wanted to do what was right, he would. And then he had me train somebody else until the end of the year. So theoretically, I worked through December 31st, and my quote unquote unemployment began on January 1st. And so it's been about, what are we, like a little over a month?
About
And so
6 weeks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's asking, like, so what am I doing? And I mean, I'm writing on Substack. I'm really trying to build my subscriber base, which is not as easy as I'd hoped. And in the process, I did this connections thing. That's how I met John and a couple of other people. And I'm just really seeing what works. I'm editing my novel every day. Every morning I wake up, I have like this writers group that I'm on, and we just hold each other accountable. And then I do my Substack work. I'm in the process of actually developing like a reset, like framework for a reset. And it's kind of through my lived experience right now. And I think I write a lot. My last posts, maybe my last 3 posts, have been a lot about like recognition. And I think
Mhm.
it's really important. Recognition is the first step. So for me, recognition was, you know, what do I really like? What do I really want to do? My last post really was about the moment that I should have recognized, and I think I did, when I knew this couldn't work anymore. I just didn't have the courage. And like we said it before we went live, the universe, had given me so many opportunities to just do what I should have done. And I kept ignoring the universe. And the universe is like, all right, Nat, like, we're going to just give you a swift kick in the butt. And so I think that's what the layoff was. And I choose to look at it like that. And I think just that attitude has made it so much better, because I know that I'm heading to something way better, big. And, my dream has always been to kind of work for myself, to do something meaningful, to do something with purpose. But I want to be in control, because, like John was saying, it's no fun when you're working. And make no mistake, I worked remote, but I was not working 9 to 5. I mean, there were nights I would work until 11, until 1.
Mhm.
And I think being remote makes it even more difficult for you to, sort of have like a work-life balance. And doing all of that and then being, getting an average review. I mean, I never got a bad review, but it just, I can't do that anymore. So one layoff happened, and I jumped from like the frying pan into the fire, as they say. And I found this job, and, I didn't give myself a break. I said, nope, not going to happen to you 3 times, right? It's like the first time, it's like shame on them. The second time, shame on you, and not going to happen a third time. And I don't know where I'm going to end up, but I do know that I'm going to fight and, try everything possible. And I really believe in my 7 step reset. It kind of came to me at 4 a.m. one night, and I, like, one of those, woke up. I grabbed the pen. I think I had like a napkin with a glass next to me, and I just kind of wrote everything out so I wouldn't forget it. And it's just really going through, like, you recognize the phase, you recognize the problem, you release it, you redesign it. So there are like 7 R's, and I'm super passionate about it. I feel that it really could help a lot of people. And it's just a process that I didn't have. And one of the things, I was speaking to a friend earlier today, and I was like letting him kind of walk through the whole design of it. And, he was finding any type of, he was really like my devil's advocate. And I said to him, I said, this doesn't mean you have to go leave your job. But if let's say you're in a corporate role, and you recognize what's not right, and you recognize that you're not happy, you can use a system, or you can use these, frameworks to kind of get you to create your escape. Um, build your escape plan, and, think about it as if you're in prison and you're like removing one brick at a time from the cell. Eventually, you're going to break free. So that's kind of what I wish I knew like 2 years ago, and
Mm.
had something to work towards. But the fact that the universe was like, we were giving you clues and you didn't listen, and now you're going to learn the hard way.
So what was like one of the clues that you've remembered? Like, because we all look back in history and we say, You know, that was a clue. What was one major clue that you can point to, and how long ago was it?
Well, is it September of 2024? I can't believe we're in 26. September of 2024. I think after trying every which way to be the best employee I could be, and to do everything possible to make my boss completely happy with my performance. And I think I kept trying to please him and win him over. I write about it, this horrible moment where he asks me to meet him in the conference room, and basically just to review a presentation. And I had no fear. I was perfectly fine. Like, I go into the conference room, and essentially what he wanted to review was a spreadsheet. That's not what he told me. He said, let's review the PowerPoint. And I pull up this document, and then he just looks at me and he goes, yeah. He's like, this is my problem with you. Like, you don't follow instructions. And I was like, what? I'm like,
That's really good management. You start off with
I mean,
anything that starts off with "This is your
oh
problem."
yeah.
This
And
is
I mean,
what's
it
wrong
just,
with you.
no, this is my problem with you. And it just escalated. So for like about a half hour, I sat there and I just took these attacks, and I kept my composure. And every time I write about it, I'm like, damn, I'm like, you kept saying you were weak, but you weren't, because you didn't like break down and just, but after he left that room, I made a beehive to, like, I just ran to the ladies' room, and I stayed in there for like an hour, and I lost it. Like, and I had to go out there and present to a whole room of people. Like, I think it was like 12:30. I needed to do that. By now it was like 11:30. I called my friend who was also my coworker. She had to go buy me eye drops, just because my eyes were swollen and red and puffy. But I managed to get myself together, and I went out there. I presented. No one knew what happened. My husband, I composed myself long enough. I have this 2-hour crazy train ride. So it's like, you can't really lose your mind on the train. And as soon as he picked me up, I lost it again. And I think at that point, like, I knew, I'm like, there's this at that point. And I did. At that point, I updated my resume and I was ready to just leave and exit. And then, you get comfortable, and I don't blame myself for that. I was making a ton of money. I was working remote. I mean, it's not like it was this, I wasn't like out in negative 20-degree weather, like, shoveling snow or something. So I was comfortable. And the last
And
year,
other
though,
parts maybe worked, but that
yeah,
wasn't.
yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I write about this. This is hilarious because now I think about it. The last year between that incident with the conference room and him, and to when I got laid off, I cannot tell you how much money I spent. I started shopping like there was no tomorrow. I mean, packages each day, not each week, each day being delivered, because I think I was starting to like self-soothe, and it was just this vicious cycle. And I think last year we went on like 4 vacations, and it was just, and like European vacations. It wasn't like I was just going to like Florida
Big
or
ticket
something,
stuff.
like big stuff. Like, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go, go to Chanel. I'm gonna go here, like crazy. And then I just like I was really self-soothing, like in the worst way imaginable. And the funniest thing happened as soon as I found out that I didn't have to work there anymore, and I got like that permission in my head. It's like something clicked. And my husband just said to me, he's like, what happened? He's like, we don't see any packages. I'm like, I don't need it. Like, so obviously I was missing something, or I was really like unhappy. And writing about it really gave me that insight. And so I feel like just like a new person. And I just think that if people allow themselves to kind of go through the process, right? I think you'll get to where you need to be. Like,
So what part of the process are you in right now, you think?
I think I'm still in I'm between recognition and release, because I'm still recognizing some things about myself, but I'm also releasing. Like I've learned to release the identity of who I used to be. Like I'm not corporate Nat
Mm.
Was
anymore.
that hard?
It was really, really hard in the beginning. And remember, for me, I was still corporate Nat until December 31st. So the
Right.
first week, man, I didn't know what to do with myself. I was like, what? Yeah, I was like, what is going on here? Like, I really had no idea. I'm
No
like,
Amazon packages ending up on your door.
no, but like I felt like, I would wake up, I'm like, there's no laptop. I'm like, I knew like I was going to do the Substack thing, but like I'm like no Zoom meetings, no like it's so ingrained. I mean, I've not ever really stopped working for 35 years. So I was just like, what
So
the hell?
you so now when you look back like these 6 weeks, are you kind of like relieved from that pressure, or you still feel like you are in this rat race?
No, I'm relieved, and I can't believe that this is like, I'll give you a perfect example. My daughter was sick last week. She came home, and John, I wanted them to do a lung X-ray on her because I was freaked out. She had this really bad cough, and I'm like, my friend from Substack. I'm like, yeah. So I was like, I was getting like a little paranoid. But she was home from school. I mentioned she dorms at college, and for the first time, like I was able to really take care of her, like just spend time with her, cook. I baked her cookies like every other day. Like, and it was just so like joyful. And I just realized that this is like a life. Like this is meaningful. And so I don't miss it anymore. I missed it like maybe the first week and a half. And that's really because I didn't know how to organize my time and my schedule. But now I pretty much have everything down pat. Like, and I like it. And I like that I'm building something, and it may or may not work, but at least I know I'm trying. And I think that's all I can do.
Mm.
That's really good. So I'm
Mhm.
happy you're actually really connecting with your daughter. That's what it sounds like.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
great.
And
she's
Well,
back
I
to
mean,
school now.
if you don't need that Chanel, I can send you my address.
There, there you go.
side note, side note, I was at Chanel, but I didn't go inside.
Oh,
I said,
Oh,
you can go
okay.
out here. We wanted to see the historical building where it was. That was the original Chanel.
oh
Oh,
yeah,
in
that's right.
Paris, Rue
Yeah, Paris.
Cambon.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yes.
Paris. So,
Takeaways.
yeah, I just one of the things I really loved what at the very end here, you talked about the new beginning was you're connecting with your child on a different level, from what I understand. And is she reciprocating to that?
Absolutely.
Good.
And I have to say, just my family overall, they're just so much happier to see how much happier I am. They're like, oh, you have
Mm.
teeth. Like, yeah, like I
Uh,
smile.
I have teeth.
Yeah, you
That's
have
funny.
teeth, right? Because I think all they were used to seeing were just tears and frowns.
Mhm.
Definitely reconnecting with my family, building new relationships with people, like-minded people, um, even just making connections when I write these stories with people who are like, wow, like we went through the same thing. So all of a sudden I don't feel alone. And I feel like my reset is just, it's a great thing. Like I just see it as a blessing. So for me, it's
So,
not a bad thing.
so are you kind of like finding peace at this time?
Absolutely. I'm finding.
And where's that peace coming from? I guess that's because what I really want to, because I think this is important for most audience, is that when you're in this transition, peace becomes your friend, more or less. And how are you receiving it? How you're looking for it? How you're grounding yourself? Because this is a major transition from a major rat race. And I
Mhm.
think you're still going to go through some more of your, and I'm just my, because I've been there, but you're still to go through some more transitions. You're going to find yourself that you're going to start shedding more and more and more. And that's what you're trying to do here. But when you're looking for peace, how are you finding it, and what are you doing to get that?
So I think, to your point, sometimes it creeps in. Sometimes that fear creeps in, like, what are you doing? Like, is this going to work? And
Mm.
all I need to do is just mentally go back to where I was and remember that feeling and compare it to how I feel now. And that's it. That's the answer. I mean, I sleep better. So from like a physical aspect, I sleep. I'm like, what the hell is sleep? Because I want to tell you guys, for like at least 2.5 years, I did not sleep through the night.
Are you sleeping until 10 o'clock now?
No, I'm really I'm really disciplined. I sleep until like 7:20. That's my that's
Okay.
kind of because I do this writing workshop at 8 a.m. But I like it and I look forward to it.
Okay.
And it makes me feel like really productive. But I sleep better. I don't have like that panic, my chest isn't tight. And I think anytime I feel any sort of anxiety creeping in, because it will, right? And I have to tell you that resume is still there. And sometimes I think, God, it would be so easy to just, go on LinkedIn and just hit attach and apply. But then I always bring myself back to that moment and to stay grounded. It's like, what are you doing? Do you want this? Like this happened to you before. You were laid off and you rushed into something else. Now you're building something, right? And you've got to be patient. You've got to. So I think I'm learning patience in the process. I think it's all good,
Can I say the takeaway, what you just hit in the very last minute, is taking time for yourself first before you move on to the next chapter?
Yeah,
absolutely. And you
That's
need
the
to
takeaway. Was that a right takeaway?
That is a right takeaway. And there's no rule about how you do it. For me, taking time for myself, because I'm just like a naturally energetic person who can't stay still. I can't sit, I just can't sit there and do nothing.
Yeah.
But somebody else may need to do that. And that's okay. But that's just, you've got to do what makes you happy and what makes you what brings you joy. And for me, it's writing, it's building, it's creating. I think I need to create because even when I'm not writing, I cook a lot.
That's
So,
good.
yeah.
So where's my cookies?
I will send you some.
we expect cookies.
Well, hey, Nat, thank you very much for the opportunity to come on our show.
Thank you,
Appreciate
guys.
it. How do they get a hold of you? Is there anything other than Substack? Is there anything else you want to send them to, or just Substack is where you want to?
For now, Substack. I have to link my Instagram. I haven't done that, but it's just really the midlife reset. And hey, I'm gonna plug it out there. Just trying to build my my subscribing audience. So
yeah. Well, if you
can, it's free.
Yay.
So if everybody wants to go and subscribe, she's on Substack. We'll put her in the comments so you can find her there. In the meantime, thank you. Hey, Kaz, thank you. No iguanas over there falling out of the trees yet anymore?
No, they're not. They're,
Okay.
that's awful. Yeah, but okay.
So
guys.
we appreciate it. Thank you very much. And we'll see you next Monday at 4 o'clock. Have a great day, everybody.
Yeah.
Thanks. You too.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.